Hey everyone, welcome to the second episode of the BEUDOU4U podcast. I am Bianca Castillo, the podcast founder and host. For today, we have a very special guest who isn't only a prominent figure in the business and influencer slash entertainment industry, because she is also playing a very important role in the woman empowerment community. She is able to use her platform really well in order to make a difference in our society by changing lots of things. So let us welcome Miss Kaye Nevada.
Hi, Bianca.
Hi, Ninang. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you for asking. And how are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm very excited to get to know you more.
My pleasure.
Yes. Are you ready for my questions?
I am when you are.
Okay, so let us start with your success. So is there any saying or phrase that you live off by?
Yes, actually, I do. I believe in we only die once, we have to live every day.
That's great. So it's like living your life to the fullest, and that's cool because I also kind of live off that saying.
Mhm.
What mindset does Kaye Nevada have? Because knowing the profile that you showed me and I've shared to other people, it's just very well rounded. So what kind of mindset did you have to achieve all of those things?
Just to get through life in any way you can, I believe. Never.
And sorry. And what was the biggest factor slash personality character trait do you have that you feel like has shaped and molded you to become Kaye Nevada?
I believe I'm a very strong person in whatever I go through, all the hardships that I've been through. I managed to um, get through it very well and learn from all my mistakes.
Yeah, so speaking of all the hardships you've been through and how you said that you are a strong person, which I really agree with that, what would you say was the most difficult obstacle slash circumstance have you faced in life? And if you don't mind answering, how are you able to overcome such thing?
Well, when it comes to business, the obstacles that you really that I've been through are the people that you deal with, pretty much. So you encounter a lot of different people and you have to adjust yourself to how you'll be able to adapt to their mindsets.
Speaking of obstacles and everything, I'm pretty sure there are many different things you've been through that was challenging and difficult for you. So in what ways were you able to persevere during those tough times?
I guess it's more of being flexible to different types of people. You have to be very flexible when we're in that type of industry, especially when dealing with a lot of people.
And since you've been mentioning about business a lot, what would you say is the best part of your job or the things you do in your life today, other than being a mom to Kira and Oscar?
Well, with the pandemic going on, a lot of people are going through crisis, and we just have to make sure, like for example, with the X-ray that we're trying to promote to the LGUs, which is the local government units here in the Philippines. It's more on the challenge is more on the budget of our government. So, as we all know, since it's the pandemic, a lot of people lost their jobs, and we just our means are just you know inevitable to really maintain.
So I always see on your stories like it's mostly Oscar or Kira or like you promoting something since you're also like an entrepreneur in some ways. how are you able to balance everything in terms of having time for yourself, your close friends, your kids, and of course, business and all sorts of those other things?
Well, since everything is online right now, and that really helps a lot. And so I'm just here at home most of the time while taking care of Oscar. And, Kira is very independent. So she's been very good with her studies. And I know that she understands that I have a baby to take care of and that she needs to take care of herself um, more independently now that she has a little brother.
Okay, well, that's great, and I'm happy for Kira. Do you personally feel like you are like living life right now? If not, what are some other things you would want to achieve, like in the remainder of Kaye Nevada living, like
Well,
your existence?
I guess yes, as a person, a lot of people really don't know when they will stop doing things, right? So I think I still have a lot of things in mind, and little by little, I've been trying to um, achieve all those goals that I have in life. I'm pretty proud of myself right now, I would say.
Yeah, that's great how we're kind of like happy with what we've been through and just like persevering day by day with all the struggles we have to face. And as a person who stands for woman empowerment, what would you say is the best part of being a woman?
The best part of being a woman is, that's a tough question. Well, as a woman, you can, there's no limit in anything that you do that you want to do. There should be equality between women and men nowadays. So whatever they can do, we can do, and we just have to be strong enough to pursue what we want.
And this question has been like asked earlier, but this is more like in detail. So, how are you, or how were you able to do all the things you love at the same time? Because when you think about it, like being a mom and then business and then like being a model and all of those things, it's kind of like in different career paths, or for at least I would say. So, how are you able to do all of that at the same time, knowing that it's like different things, and how were you able to manage all of that?
Well, when I was living in Baguio, when I was with Paymaya, I had to juggle my time between work, Kira, and managing the hotel. So there's three things that I was doing all at the same time, and I was able to manage them pretty well because it's more of time management. Like I would take her to school in the morning, and then after I take her to school, I would go to work, and then I have to pick her up too. So it was all me. And I had staff to help me. I had agents to help me out with Paymaya. And then at the same time, I was also in school. I was also trying to finish my degree in mass communication. So yeah, that was pretty tough. I had to do my internship too while doing all that. So I don't know how I made it through, but I did. It's just
Yeah, time management really is the key. So I kind of spoke about some parts of your success. Now I want to get into like more detail, but before that, if you don't mind answering, how did you get into this whole like entrepreneurship thing? So if you don't mind, if you could share with us your journey, as I'm sure most people would want to follow in that career path one day.
well, with Skin Envy that we just started, that we are about to launch. The first product that I had was the whitening deodorant. which I've been using for 20 years now. And during this pandemic, I was thinking, what else to do. So I kind of talked to the dermatologist that was supplying me that deodorant, and she didn't want to have a brand. So I decided to just kind of rebrand it and see where it goes. So she allowed me to do that, which I was pretty lucky that she was nice enough to, allow me to use her product or rebrand her product. So now we added a skincare product, which is the Spotless Rejuvenating Set.
Yes.
So me and my friends decided to come up with this set, and it was all just an opportunity for all of us where we met the right people at the right time for us to be able to do this business together.
And speaking of being an entrepreneur, what are the pros and cons of being one? And as well as what is the hardest part of being an entrepreneur?
What is the hardest part of being? It's like right now, the situation right now, it's pandemic, people really are very tight on the budget. So you have to make sure that your product is um, competitive compared to other, products. So I strongly believe that our products is very competitive.
Yeah. Are there any pros and cons in regards to being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, the pros and cons. The pros of being an entrepreneur is you have your own time. Like right now with the online business, you hold your own time in um, managing your business. And the cons would be, the competitors, especially now everything's online. So you just have to be the best among the best.
Yeah, which is really hard. But at the same time, if you enjoy what you're doing, you're able to persevere during those times.
Exactly.
And influential figure in the business and entertainment industry, in what ways do you feel like you yourself makes yourself like stand among other people? Like what makes you stand out compared to other entrepreneurs or other people who do the same things in relation to what you do?
What makes us stand out? I guess um, well, the business is pretty new for me to say that we stand out, But this is in regards to the skincare product that I just showed you. But with the X-ray that I'm also um, partnered with, I think we are the only ones who have that kind of product which can help us get through this pandemic, because this technology is developed in Japan and India. So this is the first time that the Philippines will be having this type of technology, I would say.
Okay. So as a person like you who cares about skincare and like self-care, I'm pretty sure you have your own regimen. So how do I say this? What is your secret on like looking and staying young and fresh? And this is great for maybe people who are a little bit older and who looks maybe a little older than their actual age.
I think it's in the genes. Self-care is very important, and I always tell Kira, to be more mindful of, how she takes care of herself, especially with like, I had her try the new product, and I think her skin really improved, and she just have to be more, uh, she needs to follow up on using it every day. And I think that's what you have to do. You need to be, don't be lazy. Just, just take
So,
care of yourself and maintain that, and make sure that, you know, it's not, what do you call this? Um, since that now that I have my own product, it's so hard to say that, it doesn't really depend on what product you use, but I think now it really depends on what product you use. So make sure that it's the right product for you.
so
Not
you
every
basically,
product works for everyone. Like I would,
yeah.
with our product, I don't think this is really for everyone, but we all have different skin types. So you have to
Yeah.
know one is really right for you.
So basically what you were trying to say is that you just have to like maintain and continue doing a routine and obviously use products that are suitable for your skin type,
Right.
which I feel like most people with good skin and who looks good like gives that kind of advice. And earlier you've touched on the whole skin envy and how it started with your whitening deodorant and how you've been using that for 20 years. So
Yes.
I'd like to ask you, like, why did you decide to kind of rebrand it and add your like rejuvenating set? Like, why did you want to expand on your brand?
I just, like I said earlier, we had the opportunity and we met the right people at the right time that helped us, achieve what we wanted to.
Would you say that another reason due to that like action of yours was because you haven't really found the perfect skincare products for your skin type?
Yeah, I think as we grow older, our skin type or our skin needs changes over time. So you really have to try um, different products as we get older, because our needs changes.
And out of all the things that you're doing as of the moment, what would you say is the hardest part? Would you say that it's being a mom, managing your time, your business? Like, what would you say is just like, oh, wait, that's really hard for me?
Hmm. Everything's been very challenging, especially this pandemic. So you just have to really do what you can. But being a mom again after 12 years, I guess, would be more challenging than all the businesses I've been trying to pursue right now.
Another follow-up question in terms of being a mom after 12 years, would you say, I don't know if you'd want to answer this, but would you say that it was a lot easier to take care of Oscar compared to Kira? Because I know for Oscar you have like your own like what do you call this? Like babysitter like full time and everything. Whereas for Kira, I know for a fact that at most parts, especially when she was just like child or when she was growing, during those ages, it was all you. So would you say that it was a lot easier to be a mom to Oscar compared to Kira?
Mm, I think it's harder now because I've been breastfeeding him for almost 11 months now. Or, yeah, more than 11 months now. With Kira, I just breastfed her for like 4 months. So it's Oscar's more challenging, and he's a boy.
Oh, then he's a Just like to quickly change things up, I'd like to know what brought you to the role slash situation for supporting those cashless payments there in Baguio, like how you decided to like take part and innovate cashless payments there in Baguio, as well as supporting like small businesses. Like out of all the other things you could do in terms of maybe like support, why did you choose to stick with innovating cashless payments?
Well, living in the United States for 11 years, I rarely use cash there. Everything's like, debit debit card. So when I discovered Paymaya here in the Philippines, I wanted to promote that, the cashless payment. And I wanted them to adapt to that, what do you call it? I wanted them to adapt to that, not behavior, but um, I want people to get used to that, especially now that, with the COVID-19, all the viruses and all that, with real cashless payment would really eliminate all that. Or
And sorry, and speaking of Baguio City, what was the whole experience like for you when you were the general manager of your family's hotel, also known as Mount Crest?
hmm, well, my brother used to manage it, and it was very challenging to really just start from where he left off, because I was gone for 11 years, and I really wanted to upgrade everything, but you know I couldn't do all that. I didn't have all the power to do all that. I had to get my mom's approval. So, with her age being, a lot older than me, she's probably not very comfortable in all the upgrades that I wanted to do in terms of like um, POS, but I was able to upgrade our elevator. But yeah, like all with the staff too, she was very lenient with them. And I think when I was the one managing our hotel, everyone was kind of scared, not scared of me, but more did what they had to do. They did their job. So I guess, um, yeah, it was really hard to like just continue what my brother had left off before he passed away.
Speaking of just difficulties, I'd like to ask, I'd like to transition into questions of you being a mom with Kira and now Oscar. But before that, I'd like to know, what was that one thing you wished you knew as soon as you became a mother?
There's no manual for being a mother, so you just learn from, from as the days go by and learn every day. You really don't know what's the right thing to do. I mean, the basic, yeah, but it's different for every child.
This question is kind of like related to Kira. So since you're like doing a bunch of things there in the Philippines, and Kira's dad, Paolo Ballesteros, is an actor, and I think he's also a host. Would you want Kira to also follow or at least do the same things as you guys do, or do you want her to do something that's just like in a completely different what do you call this, like career path?
Well, we got her into commercials, but
Yeah.
right now I don't think that's her priority. I think she's more into arts. But if that's the path that she wants to follow, like her dad, I wouldn't object to it. I would support whatever she wants to do in her life.
Well, that's good. So now Kira knows that she has a great support. And if you don't mind answering, why did you move to the States in the first place? Were you like not as happy and satisfied with where you were at back then? Or did you just want to like experience living on your own without having the help of your family and mom and all of that?
Well, it was actually my mom's idea to bring me to the US so that she said that I would have a better opportunity there, and at the same time I would learn in life because everything is handed down to me here when I was in the Philippines when I was growing up. So I was kind of like the spoiled brat. But yeah, she wanted me to learn in life and be independent. And I'm glad that she did. At first, I was hesitant to move to the US, but now that I've experienced it, I'm very thankful that she did.
And speaking of learning things in life, since I know for a fact that you and Kira lived in Chicago for a while, I'm not sure if you moved to other places, but I know that Chicago was one of the states you guys were at. How was that whole situation like for you? And from there on onwards, how did you view life differently from your learnings and experience?
That you need to work
Yeah.
to buy whatever you want. Because I was working part-time in the States while I was in school. So that was really, really hard, very tough for me because I had to do my own laundry. I had to drive. I had to learn how to drive. We don't have drivers, with nannies. So I had to really learn how to do everything on my own. So it was quite an adjustment for me.
Also, I think I heard from my mom that like before when you guys were still there in the States, like were you studying nursing or were you like already like a nurse there?
Hmm, that's what my mom wanted me to be, a nurse, but
Oh,
um, I took surgical technology instead, which my prerequisites for nursing was I was able to use it when I switched to surgical technology because it's like, in the same field, medical field. So um, I tried to make her happy by being in the medical field, but I had to choose surgery because adrenaline rush, not just like, being a nurse. I felt that it was not really for me. It was kind of boring for me. I mean, it's like a calling. If you're a nurse, it's like being a priest. It's like you really want to be, you know, to be a nurse and be a people person. But with surgery, I find it more fulfilling after, finishing a successful surgery. There's a different feeling. So that's what I chose instead of nursing.
and as you stated earlier, you guys didn't have like a driver and like a nanny, so you had to basically do everything on your own. And I can imagine and just see how difficult that was for you. Was there ever a point where you were like, okay, Kira, let's just go back there in the Philippines? It's like an easier life for us and whatsoever.
It wasn't really my decision. It was my mom who really wanted me to move back here because
Move back.
she really needed my help to, with our business. And unfortunately, my brothers passed away, and she's living on her own, and it's just my time to step up. And I decided, why not? So I went for it and decided to just move back here and see what we have here, what we have, what the Philippines has to offer for us. But Uh, I kind of miss the US once in a while, but I'm very happy here right now. I'm more, let's say, flexible in the things that I really wanted to do in life.
And speaking of making these bold decisions, such as listening to your mom, for example, like going to the States to experience how life actually is, and of course, coming back from the States to go to the Philippines, I'm pretty sure you were hesitant to do both what do you call this, like actions and everything. So what gave you that final push? Like, okay, I'm gonna go to the States and experience life, and also I'm gonna go back to the Philippines and help my mom and just live back my old life and just become the new Kaye Nevada. Like, what kind of what's the term? Like, instincts did you have? It's like, this is gonna be good for me. I can do this.
Well, I just want to make my mom happy. I just made sure that I, I gave her what she wanted. So me being as a great kid or daughter, I just, whatever she wanted and like, okay, I didn't have to really think of think about it a lot. Like I've always, done what she's wanted because I know she knows better.
But at the same time, I can tell that you're sort of that person who's like taking opportunities and do what makes you happy kind of vibes. So during those times when you were making those decisions, did you feel like, oh, is this going to make me happy? Or were you feeling like, I'm not happy with this, but I'll just do it for the sake of my mom's happiness? Or were you just completely happy with how everything was running smoothly?
No, not everything was running smoothly at all, especially when I first got in the States. I had to look for a job and I had no idea how that works. And my first job when I got my first job when I was 22. So when I got into JP Morgan, that was my first job through a common friend. Um, Everyone was like asking me like, "Oh, what did you do before?" I'm like, I studied. Was not that everyone started working when they were 16 or 18, and me being 22, they're like, kind of too late to start. I mean, to have your first job. So yeah.
Now I have a few questions in relation and in regards to your ex-husband, Mr. Palubalos. Just let me know if you do not feel comfortable sharing a few.
No, not at all.
So, what was the greatest challenge you had to face as a mother? Like, let's make it about Kira, not Oscar, because I didn't know that Oscar was it was kind of difficult to take care of him. Would you say that during those days or times, I'm not really sure what's the correct term, like the coming out of your ex-husband, it was really difficult for you? Because I, if I'm not mistaken, I know for a fact that you were one of like the last people to know, together with obviously the press and everyone. So how was that situation like for you, and how did you eventually get to persevere just that difficult situation?
Got Kira's here right now. How did I overcome?
How did you overcome, because like, at the same time you were pregnant and your hormones and everything, so it's not just you, it's also like how your body and how your brain reacts when you're pregnant. You're just a little more, oh, you're a little more dramatic, right? So how did you just, sorry?
Is that how your mom was?
I think she was. I think it was Brianna.
So your question is, how did I overcome? What
Or
do you mean?
how were you how were you like during those times when like all over the internet, all over social media, it's just like the Palo Ballesteros and blah 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 blah. It's just like that.
Well, good thing I was in the US at that time, so
People
I
weren't asking you.
yes, so
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't really difficult for me because I was in the US and I would just prevent myself from reading or watching anything. So it was kind of normal, I guess. If I was here, it would probably be different.
Different. Would you say that you were just able to get through it by kind of putting your brain and your mind away from the whole situation by avoiding like
Yeah,
news and all of that?
yeah, because I was also working at the time, so you know the routine in the US, you work, you go home and do what you need to do, so you don't really have time for all that.
Yeah. And just for like the sake of myself knowing, because I said if I'm not mistaken, were you one of like the last few people to know about it, or did you know? Am I making sense?
Yeah, 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 I know what you mean. I knew already before it came out, so it wasn't a surprise for me. I mean, he told me personally, so, but I wasn't in the position to be the one to tell people, so.
Yeah, it was for him.
Mm.
And lastly, in regards to your ex-husband, how are you two able to act and step up as good parents for Kira? Like, because you know, when you kind of compare your guys' situation to other families, it's kind of like it's very different from you guys. Because like I know how Kira spends a lot of time with her dad, like as much time as she can, but of course she's always with you. Like, how are you guys able to come up with that setup, which is great?
Well, we we co-parent, like, you know, with every decision that we make for Kira, we always talk about it first, and we make sure that we're on the right page, on the same page. So I think that's the only key. That's the key, that you guys need to communicate well and make sure that you're on the same page. Or if not, you know, you just talk through it and compromise.
And I'd like to move on and transition into your POV or point of view towards certain things. I'm kind of over the questions in regards to you being a mom. Well,
Mhm.
as a person who plays quite a big role in the women empowerment industry, especially there in the Philippines, what advice would you want to give to those who are insecure about their physical appearance?
Well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so you must remember that. So for people who are being insecure, you know, there's always something that you have to love about yourself, and I think you have to nourish that. Don't,
Another,
like,
sorry,
social media right now, right? It's like they're the one determining what's nice and what's not, right?
yeah.
So your head gets bombarded with all these information, and you get jealous of what you see online. And that's something that I think a lot of the teenagers right now needs to overcome, because they need to lessen, you know, focusing on what they see on social media and focus on themselves, and not compare themselves to what they see.
Yeah, I feel like nowadays, especially girls my age, would always compare. Well, I don't do that because my self-esteem is pretty high and I'm kind of thankful for that. They'd compare themselves to other people like, oh, I wish my body is like look like this because that's how society wants me to look like. And the fact that I don't fit in the standard of beauty, I feel like I'm not good enough.
Mhm.
And another follow-up question would be that in what ways can we change society's perceptions on us women? Do we feel that we need more support and respect? Other than that, like how and in what ways can we uplift women for our society today?
Well, not only as a woman that you need to be respected, you need to be respected as a whole person, you know. And your question was how do you uplift the people
Yep.
who well, like I said earlier, stop comparing yourself to others and focus more on your strengths and nourish that. You know, don't look at other people and try to be other people. Be you and do the best that you can to enhance all those good traits that you have, and that will come out naturally.
Well, in terms of the line you said, the be you, I just quickly thought of the name of my podcast, like the whole saying, be you, do you, for you. Like, if you don't know, I've also started my school club and how we kind of talk about these certain aspects and a bunch of other things. Do you agree with like the podcast saying of be you, do you, for you? Because I feel like a lot of people could view it as a very selfish thing. Like they don't kind of look at it in a positive aspect. So what are your opinions on the Be You Do You For You podcast, like name in general?
I think it's a very clever name for your podcast. And for people who thinks it's negative, it's because they have that negative mindset, you know. You just have to be more positive in looking at things, especially as simple as a name of a podcast, you know. Oh, I think that just really depends on what type of person um, would think that way, you know, that like thinking of something negatively. They just probably, um, I don't know, they just don't get it. They're more of like, what's that term? Instead of being negative, like, help me, like a pessimist.
Of that.
Yeah. You know, as simple as a name, do you really have to?
Make it such a big deal.
A big deal, you know. Yeah.
I have another question about like your point of view towards something. So I feel like I myself, like I try to do really, really, really well in school, but at the same time, I have this other part of me at times where I'm just like not feeling really great. I sometimes think of like, why am I pushing myself to my limits? Like, this is not like I can enjoy my life and maybe like, train or play volleyball or something along the lines of that. Because the other part of me is telling me that, and I also believe in it sometimes, that grades like does not define who you are. Because I feel like once again there are people in this world who just feels like, if like let's say you failed something, you're just like a failure, or you'd be made fun of just for that one thing that you didn't do good on, and they can't just like be more positive and look at the other side, the brighter side. So would you agree with the fact and the saying that your grades doesn't necessarily define who you are?
I totally agree, because there are students who are book smart and there are students that are street smart. So, like, if you graduate as the top of your class, that doesn't mean you'll be the top in life.
In the world, yeah.
You know, it's a totally different world after you graduate. It's not about grades. It's about how you adapt. Like I said earlier, how you're gonna be adapting to different types of people. You
Yep.
need to You need to adjust yourself to the world. The world will not adjust to you.
And as a person like you, who I just like really, really admire your whole profile and how it's so well rounded in like every in almost every aspect, how were you like during, when you were still, let's say, high school and college? Were you like one of those kids who were just like doing really well? Were you doing okay? Because obviously, like it's gonna be like kind of like for those people who say that grades define who you are, like they can just like look at you like as an example. Like this doesn't necessarily mean that this saying is true, that oh look, she didn't do as well in college but she's able to do these things, and that's what matters more, or at least for my point of view and my perspective, that's how I see it.
The important thing is you learn something, and that you, um, like I was an average student. I was never like the top of our class, but that didn't really bother me because I was doing other things. Um, I would be doing other things. Like I was in the varsity when I was in high school. I would join other sports, so or clubs. So I wasn't really focused on. I was just happy that I passed my subjects. As long as I'm happy with what I'm doing, that's and that I'm learning from from my um from my class, I guess that's what's important, you know. I wasn't very competitive with my grades.
I'd like to ask some advice, not just for myself, but for other people who kind of just put school first. Because I feel like in our generation today, there are some parents that kind of like, you've got to put school first. And they kind of forget about the fact that their child has to kind of experience what life is like in terms of, like joining a sports team, club, like extracurriculars, like try joining dance classes and all of that. How would you try to motivate and encourage kids my age, older or younger, like let's say Kira's age and all, to kind of get out of their shell, get out of their comfort zone, to kind of just become, try to become the better version of themselves by the, what do you call this? By trying new things.
Yeah, you don't limit. For me, I think you don't want to limit yourself to just one thing. I think as your age, Kira's age, you guys need to try different things that you think you would like. And even if you don't like it, you need to try, and you'll never know that, you might be good at it, or you might really like it, or you might get into it more than you thought you would. So, but unfortunately, right now with the pandemic, it's unfortunate for the kids they're very limited because they're just, I don't know in Thailand, are you guys face to face already?
In
Or
pretty sure in most schools, like they go to school every day, I think. But for our school, for Wells, it's kind of like split. Like for example, for high school, we go to school on Mondays and Tuesdays, and then for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's like online. So we
well,
somewhat get that experience once again, which is nice, but we're slowly getting back there.
yeah, well, unfortunately for the kids here in the Philippines, they don't have that liberty to really be out there and be trying other things rather than just staying at home and doing online work. And you guys didn't experience the library. Everything's online, you know. I had to go through encyclopedia to do my homework. And that's the one thing that I think the students here in the Philippines are missing out on, just being out and trying different things because of the limitations that we have. Well, you guys are lucky enough that you can still, go out and be with your friends, and that's important. Social life is very important in growing.
Yeah.
You know, it's different. It's so different when you spend time physically with your friends or with your classmates rather than just talking to them online. It's a totally different experience. Well, before the pandemic, I also remember that I wanted to put Kira in homeschool, but her dad didn't want her to do that because he wanted her to experience, what we experienced before, um, going to class, like right how it is. But I guess it just turned out like homeschool right now. So I guess he didn't have a choice.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed and let's hope that the situation there in Philippines gets a lot better for people like Kira and a bunch of other kids to really experience the social life and getting back to school and all of those things.
That's
And
why when I was offered this the X-ray the artificial intelligence that detected, I was really happy, and I was very fortunate to be part of it. And I really hope that the government here in Philippines would see the advantages of this technology that we're introducing to the Philippines.
I think I actually had a question in mind in terms of I think the name of the company was Tech Edge, on why you felt like you were part, or why you felt like you would play a big role in that like whole community and everything. And now I get it. It's because you're not just thinking about yourself, you're also thinking of, and or not just Kira, also like a bunch of other kids, and like through that you can maybe slowly change how the situation's there by making it, is it like cleaner, like better?
No,
Because
no,
it
no.
this
It's
is,
something.
oh, another thing.
This is an X-ray machine that detects COVID and 17 other pathologies.
Oh,
Will eliminate the spread of COVID-19 in a faster way, because here in the Philippines we have the antigen, the swab, and that would take days to get results. With the artificial
yeah.
intelligence, we get the result as quick as 2 minutes.
Wow.
Yes. So imagine if we were able to do a mass testing in every barangay or every city. If every city has this machine that we have, which is kind of expensive, so it's really hard to have it in every city here in the Philippines, especially in places that's really out of reach. And with this technology, we also need the internet, unfortunately. So not all the places here in the Philippines have that luxury. So, but good thing we have the offline version of the X-ray, but it doesn't detect all the pathologies that I just mentioned, like the seven pathologies, lung pathologies. It would only detect the COVID-19 and 4 other lung pathologies. So yes, and really hoping we would be successful in convincing our government here to avail of that opportunity for the Filipino people to fight
Hold on.
this pandemic.
Yeah, that is like such a great technology, and I feel like that would not only help people there in the Philippines, it could also help people like in other parts of the world if you decide to expand on that. And I think it's such a great machine, how it's able to not just detect the COVID, but also like other lung pathologies. But in regards to my question earlier about Tech Edge, would you kind of want to explain what that company is about or what that is?
An IT company, and the X-ray is just one of the products that we
Oh,
have. We have other products like the telemedicine, which is an app that our CEO developed, which is like an end-to-end solution for home health from at the comfort of your home. The medical staff would come to your house. You have that app, everything there, like from your checkup to your follow-up checkups to the machines that's going to be brought to your house to your medicine.
Wow.
It's like an end-to-end solution, and there are other like technologies that we have to offer, but right now our focus here is to fight this pandemic, which is the X-ray artificial intelligence machine.
Would you say that you kind of fall into the role of taking part of this whole, I'm not sure what the correct term is, but this like tech edge, like maybe community, and how it kind of relates to what your mom wanted you to do, like to be a nurse, right? In this specific role that you're taking part in, you're like helping people. At first I was actually going to ask you something with like, why do you think that you were part of this? Because I know that you're like into entertainment, like beauty and all of that. But like today I learned this other side of you and other part of you that you also care. I mean, I'm not saying you care about people, but you like actually care about people, and not just the people you're close to, but like just like random strangers out there, like just to help them out and to kind of help the Philippines.
Opportunity, why,
Yeah.
right? And I had the opportunity to be part of it, and I grabbed that opportunity to be
Yeah.
part. I wanted to be part of the solution.
Yeah. You're also not only the type of person who's like, I'm gonna do what makes me happy, you're also kind of like grabbing every opportunity. And I just feel like that's something that's super cool, but at the same time very risky, because at situations like this, you're like, you might come up with questions like, what if? And it's cool that you're like strong enough to make up your decision and just grab it as soon as you can, which is really
With Paymaya, who would have thought I would be able to start that myself in Baguio? I never thought of me being the one to start that in Baguio. Now that actually before when I was doing this Paymaya in Baguio, nobody really knew about it, and it was really hard to. It was so hard for them to understand what's the use of it. We don't need that. That's their mentality there. Like, why do we need that? Where would our money go? But now that, when the pandemic started, that's the only time they really,
realized.
understood or realized what I was trying to do. And I guess now, after, when the pandemic started, that's when a lot of people started calling me about it. They were like, do you still offer that? And I'm like, now I wasn't happy that there was a pandemic now, but I was happy that the people started to realize what I was trying to tell them, you know. It's
And
when you don't really know or need something at that time, you really wouldn't even mind knowing what it is before you even say no. Because we were giving free stuff to people for them to use Paymaya.
oh,
We were giving a lot of, all these local and small business opportunities to upgrade their businesses, but they refused, even if it was free. So I was like, wow, qualities people have here. But now, I mean, I understand where they're coming from. They're skeptical about new
yeah.
technology, and they're not very familiar with this type of technology, so
Yeah.
yeah, they had to think really they had to think twice. But I'm thankful that the pandemic happened in a good way
In a
that
good way, yes.
realized to adapt to this kind of technology.
So I guess that's the only good thing about this pandemic. It's that realization for people, specifically there in Baguio, kind of
So
real
we're
understand the importance and why you decided to reach out to them about it.
it's just because it's you can see that we are behind, so behind here in the Philippines with technology. And it's about time that the people would have this mentality where you have to be open-minded and try new things. And so we would, what do you call this? Um, it's,
Slowly change, slowly be
you know, uh, develop the country in our own way. We have to start in our own, in our own everyday life, like just adapting to, using cashless right now. It's like less less pickpocketing. If you don't have cash, that's one thing. That's the advantage of it. You don't need cash, but be careful of your phone. That's where everything is now.
yeah. Well, I have another question in regards to business, since you spoke about Pay Maya. So, if you were given the opportunity to change one thing about the industry, let's make it like and narrow it down to the Philippines.
Mhm.
What would it be and why?
What would I change? Well, the internet services here in the Philippines, because that's what we really need to be able to use the app.
Yeah,
Internet, without fast internet, it won't work. So I was, if I was the CEO of Pima, I would think of a way probably to be able to use it without the internet. I don't know if that's possible, but I'm pretty sure
you can come up with something.
someone out there who's smart enough can come up with something like that, without using the internet to be able to use an app. I don't know if that's possible, but I really hope that it one day that could happen, because I don't know when we will have a better service here in the Philippines with internet providers.
And since I asked a question in regards to business, we can't forget the whole beauty and skincare aspect. So, in the next few years, what are your hopes for our society and in our for our generation in the terms of beauty and skincare aspect? Like, what do you wish to see eventually in terms of that particular situation?
Well, with beauty products, it's it's like it never stops innovate. There's the innovation. It's like technology. We have it innovates every year. It could change, as far as changing your phone. It's just the same concept, you know, with the skincare industry. It evolves, and it's very what do you call this? There's a lot of new things coming out every month, so it's so hard to keep up. So that's why I said earlier, you just need to find what's right for you. You don't really have to, um, you don't really have to, have everything that's new. I don't know, but because with me, I don't like with my phone, I don't really change my phone every time there's a new one coming out. Um, I'll use whatever works for me. And I think that goes with um, the things that you use on your body. Use what works for you and be smart about it too. Not just because it's cheap, you know, it's good for you. That's also one thing that people need to be careful about, because there's a lot of, the fake ones coming out, you know, So you just have to be careful on that. Not just because it's cheap, that's what you're
Yeah.
paid for. You get what you pay for.
Yeah. Actually have few
I mean,
last questions.
our skin is an
Sorry.
investment. I mean,
Yeah. Something I brought up to you a few months ago, and like I love that you like agreed. You already knew.
mhm.
And out of your 38 years of existence, what would you say is the main highlight of your whole career? As a person like me who's just like very inspired with your journey, with everything you've been through and accomplished in life, I'd like to kind of see your point of view on like, I'm really proud of this aspect and how I was able to do this.
I think with Paymaya, I think I'm very proud of the development I made in Baguio City with introducing that kind of technology there. And but now that I'm not doing it anymore because I'm already based here in Manila, I had to give it up. But there are people continuing what I started, and I'm really glad that I was the pioneer
Yes.
or I was part of it. And I'm really proud of how far Paymaya had gone, especially now. And I could say that I'm part of that when it started, you know.
Yeah. And speaking of things you've accomplished and what you're proud of, in the next 5 years, where does Kaye Nevada see herself?
In 5 years.
Yes, and maybe like kind of like around that year range. Not necessarily 5 years, but like in the next like around 5 years.
Well, I'm really praying that all the businesses that I've been putting up recently would be successful, and I really hope that I would get more opportunities like these opportunities coming my way, and I would be glad to be part of all those opportunities that would come my way, and I wouldn't hesitate to, try anything new.
But those are all of my questions, and thank you so much.
Thank you for having.
So, yes, of course. So, this is the second episode of the BEUDOU4U podcast. So Miss Kaye Nevada spoke on many different parts of her life and how she was able to persevere during hard times. And in my personal opinion, I'd say that she kind of wouldn't be here today without it for her mom really pushing her to move there into to the States to experience what life really is like. And from there, she was able to pick up on the tactics and how to somewhat, be successful in my point of view. And I also really appreciate the fact that she's using her platform to make a change in our for our country, the Philippines, not only in the business and beauty, but also for the whole COVID situation. And that itself is already like such a huge part of your career because you're like saving lives and you're like kind of stopping the spread in some ways. And she's also spoke about um, her family, of course, Paolo Ballesteros and Kira Ballesteros, of course her son Oscar. And she's also lastly spoke about her point of views towards society and how some people who are not as positive as how we think that they should kind of like not do that. But yes, that is the end of the BEUDOU4U podcast. Thank you once again, Miss Kaye.
Thank you, and I hope I wish you luck with this podcast, and I hope a lot of people would learn a lot from all your episodes, and I hope you guys learned something from anything I said. Sense, but I hope it helped.
You. Is Kira there? Could we say hi to? Can I say hi to Kira? Would you like to say hi? I'll add this. Hi,
Me, Kira.
Kira Claire Ballesteros. Yes, thank you.